The American dream can be defined as the ideal by which equality of opportunity is available to any American. And everyone can likely agree, there's plenty of opportunity in the US. But recently, we've been struggling to establish this equality part. Not for the first time, race, gender, and wealth divides have come to the forefront of American awareness. And it has become increasingly obvious that in reality, America is not equal. I think that's why we call the American dream an ideal. A dream. Gianna and I saw an opportunity to uncover what some Americans really think of the current state of the American dream, and to connect what we have learned to the community we live in.
My name is Dan. Birch.
Today I am here with
Yolanda.
May I ask your name?
Bonnie.
And my question for you guys, do you think that in America there is equality of opportunity for everyone regardless of race, gender, or status?
Ooh, that's a little bit question.
To be honest, I do feel like it. I feel like anybody can really do what they really put their minds. It doesn't matter your race or your culture, whatever.
I do think that like if you have like a color, like I ain't gonna say it like that, but if you have like a skin color beside like being, white, I feel like it is kind of harder for you to get certain parts in like this country, certain things. But with a lot of hard work, you definitely can get somewhere.
I mean, I know people I've worked with that got promoted over other people that probably deserved it. I think on the face, there's that equality, but I think when you actually dig into it, no.
No. Why do you think that?
Racism and sexism and ableism and homophobia and everything that make it so there's not equal opportunity.
I don't think so. There's still a major wage gap among the genders, and there's so much discrimination still in terms of race. Class divisions are growing, with the rich getting richer, the poor staying the same or getting poorer in some cases.
In fact, American income inequality is among the highest in the world, and wealth inequality is even higher. While income is how much money you make in a year, wealth is your net worth, the value of everything you own, like property and stocks. Wealth generally increases and can be passed down through generations. According to the Federal Reserve, the top 1% of Americans hold 32% of American wealth, while the poorest half holds just 2.8%.
2.8 compared to 50%? I mean, it makes sense. Don't you see where we live? Philadelphia.
Only came down here to like see good stuff like this. At the hood, you can't really see good buildings. So like the only time you really get that peace that, you feel me, let me clear my mind out is coming downtown and shit.
I was gonna say, it depends on the neighborhood you're walking in.
Abdul isn't the only American noticing a geographical wealth divide.
If you're on Martin Luther King Boulevard, there's some violence going down.
Beginning in 1933, the Federal Housing Administration divided American cities using red lines and deemed areas where people of color lived as risky investments. Despite being less likely to default on their mortgages, Americans of color were trapped in red-lined neighborhoods when the value of their homes tanked, and disinvestment allowed crime and foreclosures to skyrocket. Redlining was stopped in 1968 with the Fair Housing Trade Act, but white Americans had already accumulated millions in wealth. Over generations, houses were passed down or sold, allowing wealth to accumulate geographically and racially. The racial home ownership gap today is now wider than it was during the Jim Crow era. And even with the same education and occupation, there is a $43,000 gap in net worth between Black and white families.
It's 3 questions, super easy. Don't worry, it'll be painless. So how would you define poverty?
I think it's a lot of poverty in the US, much more than Norway.
People think of poverty, people think of money. There's also lack of opportunities too. Like, somebody who comes from a different area may not have the same opportunities. So that is that a way to be accomplished? I don't, a little bit of poverty?
Definitely.
Yeah.
Some people are able to maybe make ends meet, but they're working like 2 to 3 jobs and they're working and sleeping and that's all they're doing. So, that's poverty. Like, you could be working your ass off and still be in poverty.
The Bureau of Labor Statistics describes working poor as someone who falls below the poverty line, despite spending half their time working or looking for work. In 2016, 7.6 million Americans fell into this category. Meanwhile, there is no major American city where a family with a parent on full-time minimum wage can get a 2-bedroom apartment while still affording necessities like food. In Philadelphia, 21% of families struggle with food insecurity. In North Philadelphia, food insecurity affects 30% of families. Americans are doing the work and still struggling to make ends meet. We spoke with Solomon and Celia of Project Home, a nonprofit organization providing meals to homeless men suffering from mental illness in Philadelphia.
The 3 meals a day is extremely important.
A lot of these guys don't have family. A lot of these guys have got severe mental illnesses. So they really rely on these meals here at Project Home.
I would just say someone who don't know, just know that it's all intertwined. A lot of times you find people that's homeless, they deal with addiction, they deal with barriers of mental health. You know, I feel like homelessness is not just homelessness. It comes with different layers of barriers.
But they need to realize, though, that people with mental illnesses need help. And unfortunately, the society is not doing enough.
Upcoming generation is more vocal. They're not asking, they're taking. Not going to happen tomorrow, but I'm hoping one day, we'll get there.
Thank you so much for having so much confidence in us.
I think your generation absolutely can do it.
Thank you for believing on us.
Thank you. Yeah, much appreciated.
Yeah, we definitely do. But I'm pretty strong. I think we can do it.
You get rid of some of these old people, you'll be all right.
Thank you so much.
I like to see change made. I mean, I guess new mayor.
Start from the youth.
I heard that the other mayor got impeached, right? So definitely that's gonna happen. Better senator. I did vote blue, so hopefully that. And besides that, yeah, I think the community also needs to come together and make a better change.
Like an abolitionist insurrection. Like,
all right.
Yeah.
So my friend Bonnie here is calling for an abolitionist insurrection. Ladies and gentlemen, you heard it here first.
You heard it here. You heard it here.
Thank you so much for your time.
Americans have always had hope, but we cannot continue the 200-year-long journey of realizing the American dream without you. Lobby your politicians. Create grassroots initiatives targeting inequality in your neighborhood. Donate your time or money to programs like Project Home. Let's continue the efforts of the many Americans before us, so that in our lifetime, equality of opportunity will be available to anyone. Let's be the generation that makes the dream reality.
We keep the funk alive by talking with idioms. Yo, it's 3030. I want y'all to meet Deltron Zero and hard up now. Yo, it's 3030. I want y'all to meet Deltron Zero and hard up now. Yo, it's 3030.
Hello, Dr. Scola. I hope you're having a wonderful day, or morning, whenever you're seeing this. This is called a QR code. Now, when you scan it, it brings you somewhere. That I cannot tell you. I guess you find out about the seasonal events if you scan it. So it will take you, it will open your browser on your phone, so most likely Safari, and it will bring you to this website. Yes, you can have the time to type in said website, but when typing in said website, that takes time and more movement. All you have to do, open your camera app, scan it, boom, you're there. And then you will know all the seasonal